All right, so release notes for 2.12. So the big one was account hierarchy, expanding that to 5 levels. So everything is the same, but the account hierarchy works the same. It's just that we've added levels 4 and 5, so you can kind of see that here. So it just allows you to break up your enterprise into two more levels. And then all the other rules follow the same with admins and users and groups and everything else. Okay, so then part of that too, now on the asset detail screen, so when you're editing a particular asset, we've added this new tab up here. So that allows you to set the hierarchy at the asset level. Before you had to go into the account hierarchy and add assets and remove assets, but now you can do it individually on the asset itself. So here you can see, in this example, I pulled up Dave Sequoia, and I clicked the hierarchy tab, and I have available to me these two pick lists. So I've got the hierarchy level, so I chose level 4, and then I chose Illinois. So prior to this, I had to set up my hierarchy, and I set up countries and cities and states and whatnot. But then on the actual asset, I can set it, and you set it at the lowest level. So like Illinois belongs to the, that's the level 4 node. But of course, states were set up to belong to a country is part of a region, etc. So the hierarchy had to be set up first. This is our Halliburton dev account. So for example, if we look at hierarchy, so they've got a 5-level hierarchy that we'll see here. They've got their enterprise at the very top. Then they have what they call their product service line. Then they have areas. Within the areas, they have districts. And within the districts, they have plants. The way you would configure those normally, so if Dave Sequoia wanted to live down here in this plant, I would need to come in here, configure this guy. I would look for whatever plant I belong to, and I could come over here and load that asset this way. So this is how you would load assets to the hierarchy back prior to 2.12, and you can still do it after, but you can also now do it at the asset level. So if we look at this particular red truck here, I can see he actually belongs to the Rock Springs plant, which belongs to the Rock Springs district, which is part of the Rockies area, which belongs to the product service line called product enhancement. So if I pull up this particular asset, everything else is the same, but what you'll see here, and it's only for customers that have a account hierarchy. So you'll see this tab here, and you can see that he belongs to the Rock Springs plant. If I needed to switch him over to another plant, I could do that. Or if I wanted to bring him up to a different, let's say at the district level, then you see all my districts. Okay, we have a new alert. Time limit exceeded and no movement outside of known locations. So anyway, so it's a new alert. If you're, we call this the truck stop rule, right? So if you're sitting somewhere and you're not moving and you're outside of all your known work areas, that means you're at a truck stop. So that alert's out there now. Okay, this is totally cool. Locations are now on your history trail. Let's take a look at Dan's Ultima. So this guy's sitting here now, and if we go to his history trail, see what he did today. All right, perfect. So, this is the normal history trail. What we've added, though, is if you zoom in here, we've added the actual geofence. So if this vehicle enters or exits any geofences in the history trail, we show those. Okay, location zones and projects all have active and inactive now. So there's a new column right here is active. You can set them to active or inactive. So here you can see I got a bunch of locations, right? So these ones here are active. You can sort by this. So I got 3 inactive. So like Cantigny, Dan's Home, and Hunter. They're currently not active. So what does that mean? That just means they don't appear down here in the accordion. So you won't see Cantigny, Dan's Home. So it just declutters your user experience, but you can always add those back in just by setting them active. That also includes, for example, alerts, geofence alerts. If you deactivate the location, you deactivate that alert for that location. So that's also true with zones. People don't use zones much, but that's also there. And projects is the big one. So, you know, projects are time-based groupings, right? So as you create a project because you're building a bridge, right? And that bridge that you're building has bulldozers, excavators, and pickup trucks, right? So you create a project, you include all those assets, and that project will have a start date, and eventually it'll have an end date. But then you can, for that project, you can run reports, you can bring it up on the map very quickly, you can do job site utilization based off of that project, but eventually that project will become finished and you'll move on to the next project. So if you still wanted to run reports on that guy, you don't want to delete that project, but now you can just uncheck them, and that guy will disappear from your report selection screens, your accordion, and all that other good stuff. Okay, and account notifications. So what we've done is we've added a new blade here under account. Hierarchy's always been there, but now notifications will be there. So this is where you can manage all of your account notifications. So these are your email addresses and text, SMS text phone numbers for the entire account. So now you can manage it all in one spot. So before, I'll just show you where they were before. When you created alerts, you'd have to come in here and you see, oh, I've got something going to Dave's email and Dan email, Dan phone and email, and if you wanted to update one of these, you'd have to find the alert, and if I change my email address, I'd have to come here, go into edit, and maybe, you know, I have a new email or change my phone number or something. But you'd have to do that for each alert, and it was just a pain in the butt, right? So now all of these notifications are managed in one spot, right here under account notifications. So you can see them, you can clearly see the emails, the phone numbers, you can export this list, you can manage it all in one area. Okay, we've added international language support for assets and alerts. So here's a screenshot of an example. But anyway, so these international characters, we didn't support, we only supported ASCII characters, which is English. Now we support any language. So you can name your asset in any language, and then the alert, both on the name and on the description. And then the alerts that go out, the message of the alert, including the asset name, now supports international languages. Okay, quick groups. So we added quick groups to the grid. So what is a quick group? So we've added this little blue button here that's on the grid. So for example, let's go to the grid. Okay, so I've got 47 assets in this account, and let's say I wanted to create a group for, let's see, what should we create a group on? District, area, okay, USA. So we'll do Thailand, doesn't matter. So I can filter the grid. So let's say I do Thailand, and I filter the grid. So there's 5 assets here that was filtered down. So this little quick group guy becomes enabled, and I could call these my Thailand group. All right, hit add. So once the grid is filtered, that means this guy is enabled. And now if I just go to my groups, you can see I'll have Thailand group. He's got 5 assets. And then down in my, refresh. Down in my accordion for groups, I should have a new group. Thailand group. And boom. So it pulls up those assets. Okay, number 9, new user role. Okay, we've added a new user role. And this is a big one. So this is very cool. Restricted admin. So it's just like an admin, but you set the restrictions when you create the user, the actual user itself. So up here, I'll just read through this. Restricted admin has read-only visibility to all assets in his or her organization. However, the restricted admin can be configured with limited add, edit, delete capabilities for all system entities. So the system entities are account hierarchy, account notifications, assets, cameras, drivers, groups, locations, projects, sensors, unassigned devices, and zones. So for example, an admin can create a restricted admin that can only add, edit, delete account notifications and groups. This user cannot add, edit, delete other entities such as assets, drivers, etc. See example below. So here's an example. I'm creating this user. So the role is restricted admin, and then you can give him the options of what you want him to be able to access. So in this case, I've selected notifications and groups. And then what happens is when that user logs in, he'll get the admin menu option, but he only has notifications and groups. So I've got a restricted admin here. He's at the top level. So let's edit him and let's see what he's set up for. Okay, this guy is set up for assets, cameras, and drivers. So if I log in as that guy, so you'll see he gets everything, but under the admin menu, he only gets what we selected, right? Assets, cameras, and drivers. So if you want this guy to be able to edit your assets, you can set them up so. You can come in here, add new assets, delete assets, edit assets. But he's restricted, he's a restricted admin, he only has access to what you grant to him. This is similar to the concept that's been around in Temeda for a while of tabbed access control, right? So you could think of everything that's under admin as a tab, and if you want to dole out security to different tabs, well, now you have that capability.